In the last video, we installed the Artemis Cloud Connector and went over the function basics. If you still need to install the add-in, check out the video linked in the description. In this video, we're going to go over some of the basic strategies for analyzing data with the Artemis Cloud Connector. Here, you can see we've loaded some item master data into our workbook using the run database reports function in A1. For those unfamiliar with an item master, it's just a list of your various products, subcomponents, raw materials, so on. Basically your products and all of the materials or parts used to make them. In addition to basic item master data, we have some financial data about how many have been sold, how many are on hand, sale prices, last sale date, and a few other data points. Once we've pulled our database report in, we have a few options to analyze our data. I'm going to show you my favorite strategies. We can analyze our data with basic range aggregation functions like this. So, equals sum G2 to G1001 because I know our data is 1,000 rows long. But that can get a bit confusing when we're doing our analysis on a separate sheet, and it can make formulas harder to read. I personally really like tables. They let us do our analysis using column names instead of cell references. So how do we get our Artemis data into a table? First, we're going to create a new tab here called Items. And then we're going to copy our column names and paste them into A1. So copy and paste as values. Then we'll go to Insert, Table. My table has headers. Okay. And we're going to name our table Items. And now we get to use two of my favorite lesser known Excel functions, address and indirect. First, we'll use address. Type in equals address, and then row, column, and a few commas to skip the optional arguments, and the name of the sheet that we're referencing. This will give us the address of the exact same cell on the items pre-table. Then we'll wrap that with indirect. Here, I'll zoom in just a little bit. Make sure it's easy to see. We're going to wrap that in indirect. And now instead of giving us the address of the exact same cell in the items pre-table, it's going to give us that value. Now we're going to expand our table. Our data is 1,000 rows long, but we want to make sure our table is long enough to support new items in the future. So we're going to make our table 2,000 rows long. We'll do that by clicking on the table, going to Table Design, Resize Table, and then changing N2 to N2000. In order to know which rows are referencing data and which rows are currently empty, we're going to modify our function just a bit. We're going to utilize the isBlank function to insert false in any cells that are not currently referencing real data. So I'm going to copy this and do if isBlank, and then what we copied, and then false. So if it's blank, then it's false, and then paste. Otherwise, we're going to put in the value of that cell. And so when we scroll down, we can see that up to 1,000, we have all of our values, and beyond that, it reads false. With that complete, we'll copy this over to our other columns. And just like that, now we can reference all of our data in a table format. I'm going to color these columns red so that we know that they can't be modified. Select Home. I'm going to change our bucket fill to dark red. Now, let's add a column to show off how easy it is to do math by column name instead of cell reference. First, I'm going to add a column called Days Since Last Sale. Let's scroll to the right. Days since last sale. And I'm going to color it green so that we know that it's a calculative column and that we can change it. I'll resize it. And first, we're going to make sure that we're working against an active row by checking if the last sale date column is false or not. So equals if last sale dates equals false, then false. Then otherwise, it's today minus last sale date. And there we have it. Let's highlight everything, make sure that we include our commas and proper units of precision. And now, not only can we reference our data in a table, but we can also add columns that can be referenced in the same way in other parts of our analysis. Now, I feel like making a histogram of some of our values here. So I'm going to create a new sheet called weight hist. Rename weight hist. And I'm going to add 3 columns called bucket start, bucket end, and gross profit USD. So bucket start, bucket end, gross profit USD. I'll zoom in a little bit, make sure everybody can see it. And I'm going to highlight our columns and turn them into a table. My table has headers. I'll get rid of our accidental column here. And I'm also going to resize our table so that we have 10 rows. I'll make sure I name it correctly. Resize C11. Now what I'm going to do is in bucket end, I'm going to put in a formula that will allow us to split our data by a decile, basically. You can see here, you take the max of unit weight from the items table, and then multiply it by the row that we're in, -1, and divide that by 10. Equals. And I put it into the wrong column. So we'll move this over here, hit escape, and we'll clear out our gross profit USD. And then when it comes to our bucket start, we're going to back out 1/10 of our maximum weight on each row. So I have another formula here that I'm going to copy. Grab that. And you can see it references the bucket end, and then it takes the max of item unit weight and minuses it, or subtracts it rather, by 1/10. So now we have a nice set of buckets with start and ends, which we can do sum ifs on. So now I'm going to do equals sum ifs. And the range that we want to sum is gross profit USD. So, items, gross profit TTM here. And then in our criteria range, we want to do this on weight, right? So our criteria range is going to be items unit weight, where it's greater than or equal to, and bucket start. And then items unit weight, where it's less than, and bucket end. We'll format those nicely as dollars. Probably don't need our cents given the magnitude of our values here. And now we have a nice bucket of every decile of weight, the gross profit for the last 12 months that's attributable to that weight bucket. With all of our data calculated out correctly here, we can chart it out by selecting bucket end and gross profit USD. So I'll select these, go to insert, recommended charts. You can see we'll select our column chart here, hit OK, and we have a nice little histogram by weight. It doesn't tell us much since this is all simulated data, but it's a good example nonetheless. Hopefully this was a good first taste of how to most effectively use the Artemis Cloud Connector add-in. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, need help, or would like to learn more about the tool. Thank you.